So let's start from the one beside me, Ms. Blessy Townes, Vice President and Head of Digital Marketing and Branding at Discovery Hospitality. A round of applause, please. And next to her, beside her, is Mr. Brian Ong, Group Head of Public Relations at Hotel 101 Group. A round of applause, please. And then, of course, Madame Loleth So, Group Commercial Director at Megaworld Hotels and Resorts. Mahina daw. Okay. And the President of HSMA. And, of course, Jerome de la Cruz, the Director of Business Development APAC at HyperGuest. A round of applause for Jerome, please. Okay, let's go to the questions, because a lot of questions came in. When we posted in LinkedIn, there was a QR code, and a lot of questions actually came in. So the first question goes to Blessy. As the VP of Digital Marketing of Discovery Hospitality, what do you see as the most significant shift in online visibility strategies for the hotels in recent years?
Good afternoon, everyone. As for Discovery Hospitality, I can say there's just one significant shift, but three. First is the video-first culture. We always say, you know, it's the year of the video, but in 2024, 82% of contents consumed online were mostly videos.
82%? That's very
globally.
big.
So that means, you know, in terms of video content, social media, YouTube, and regardless of the platforms, it's always video. So if you want to be visible, you have to make sure that you have video contents.
Yes.
Right? And then, of course, YouTube Reels is becoming a very effective tool for not only for awareness and conversion, especially here in the Philippines. In terms of consumption, the Philippines actually ranks number 7 globally for the watch time of YouTube Reels.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of contents, the priority for the Discovery Group is to produce more videos.
Yeah.
Next is SEO. When we say SEO, we think, oh, search engine optimization. Especially, you know, for me and Brian, we've been in the digital marketing industry for so long. But SEO now is no longer the search engine optimization. It's search everywhere optimization.
Search everywhere, huh?
Search is happening not only on Google, not only on YouTube, but also on social media. So make sure that you are visible across all the different platforms, and not just visible, that you are able to serve contents that convert.
Yes.
And with Gen AI, machine learning, GPT, SEO, search everywhere optimization is evolving into smart engine optimization.
Smart engine optimization, okay.
Yes. So that means that instead of just optimizing for search engines, you should also optimize for GPT, for social media. And lastly is tailoring contents based on the customer journey. But it's not the journey based on the market segment, but the persona, the market persona, based on what the specific persona is looking for. So we're talking about tofu, mofu, and bofu. What are those? Top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and then bottom of the funnel. Because ultimately, the goal is to drive those contents, the target audience, talking about the multiplicity in the ad formats, the contents, the behavior, and all, put them all in the conversion funnel.
Yes, yes,
Convert
yes. That's
them.
very true. So one of the things that Blessy said is 82%, you said, right? So can you just imagine if until now you're not yet doing videos, then you lose immediately that 82% opportunity that Blessy is mentioning about. Now, Blessy also mentioned that it doesn't have to be the full production video, I suppose, right? You're talking about reels as well.
We are in the business of authenticity. In the same way that we want, you know, AI to produce beautiful, inspiring contents, at the end of the day, guests can tell if they are real contents or not. And the ones that are authentic, especially the user-generated contents, are the most engaging. They are your social proof. So they are going to help you convert your website users, your fans, into guests.
Yes, and if you guys are not yet doing TikTok, for example, because that's another big thing, right? Everybody's into TikTok. I highly suggest, especially those that are the same age group that I am in, if you are not yet doing TikTok, I suggest you try. Because, just an example, there was a time I was asking my colleagues to do it in the office for our brands, and they kept on saying, cannot do this, cannot do that. So I decided to do it myself, and before I knew it, I had 15,000 followers. So my only point there is not the 15,000. The point there is to re-educate ourselves, because it's important that before we tell other teammates of ours to do something, we should understand how it's actually done. Okay? Thank you very much, Blessy. Now let's go to Brian first. So Brian, how does public relations intersect with digital marketing to amplify a hotel's online presence?
So thank you for that. So let me first say that public relations is really a strategic communications of an organization to its public. So it really intersects with digital because it's another avenue for us to communicate to our guests.
Very good, very good.
To communicate to our audiences.
Yes. So how do you feel like there are some companies until now which they say, PR is the offline, you talk about the Manila bulletins and all of that, as opposed to digital, which is online. How do you guys do this nowadays?
It complements each other because
Very good.
The media is not just print, it's also online. The actors in the media, for example, journalists are also online. The editors are online. So you need to really engage with them where they are, where they're active and gaining traction. Right?
Yes, because the new thing in marketing is to be able to communicate to your guests or your audience wherever they want to communicate with you.
That's right.
Yeah, it can be in social media, Google, YouTube, or even in offline, online, wherever, right? Oh, thank you very much for that, Brian. Next, let's go to Loleth first. Loleth, could you share some best practices where digital strategy significantly boosted online visibility and bookings? Because you've been in the business for a while, together with me. So the point is, what have you seen so far? Are there best practices worth noting?
Of course. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, digital marketing has evolutionized so much. I remember, I'll just take a little memory lane back, during my time, there was really not any digital marketing, but I think in terms of best practices with the way how the business is moving along, what we really have to look at is content marketing. I think it's very important. But sometimes it becomes also the most understated word and overused, Because not everybody, I think, all marketing professionals like to always say, we do content marketing, we do this, we do that. But really what's important is, what are you going to push out? You really need to know the data. You have to know your data. You need to know your market. You need to know the behavior of your market, the needs of your market. Important, I think, is target marketing, because you don't just do content for the sake of doing content, but rather you have to be very targeted when you push out a certain content.
Agree.
I'll give you an example. A lot of us are on Facebook. O sige, fine. Merong mga nasa TikTok. Okay?
Okay.
Ako, Facebook. Okay? I think when we start pushing out content towards Facebook, there are obviously different target markets that you want to reach.
Yes.
Like you may want to target the millennials like me. Joke. Okay? Or you may want to actually target also some Gen Zs or whatever, but you really need to know what they are after.
Okay.
What they need and what appeals to them.
Yes.
So in terms of, to answer your question, the most important for me is really content marketing.
Yes.
Why? Because all your efforts are really wasted if you don't know the market that you want to target, the behavior, and all the demographics. So data is also very important.
Okay. So it's very much aligned to what Blessy shared about SEO and PR combining with digital. And of course, content is really very important indeed. Now, I think the difference nowadays is that before, we will just make contents and then we wish that everybody reads it. Now we base it on the data we get, and then we create contents based on what they're looking for, right? So that's the difference. But again, unfortunately, the reality is, a lot of companies are still trapped on the olden days that they create the material. Alimbawa na lang, let's create a Christmas promotion, and there has to be, the typical Bethlehem, how do you call this thing? So Mama Mary, the grotto and stuff like that. But is that what they're looking for? It's something that probably we haven't considered looking at. And good that we have the tools now, right? I mean, I'm sure Brian and of course everybody who is very active in using the tools, right? Now, let's go to Jerome. Jerome, from your perspective at HyperGuest, how can hotels leverage technology partnerships to enhance their online visibility? Of course, enlisting on your platform is one, but how do they maximize exposure in this new field called marketplace? What is this anyway?
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Jerome from HyperGuest. Okay, first of all, if you've seen in TikTok, there's one influencer who's always saying very demure.
I am very
Mindful,
demure,
right?
but
Very demure, right? In distribution, you don't have to be demure. However, you have to be mindful. So when I say not to be demure, you really must have a full knowledge on where your rate is going to. Because that's normally the problem is. And in marketplace, if you've recalled, OTA, this platform, this channel, has been in the market for almost 3 decades already. It's already ripe for disruption. And now we are entering a marketplace era, wherein the objective is to democratize distribution, wherein the objective is to link the supply or hotels to the agents from different side of the world without paying any commission. So we are entering a marketplace era, and that's basically what HyperGuest is. And my point is, to answer your question is, distribution must be transparent.
Okay.
Because this is now the main problem. When you partner with intermediaries, you don't know where it's going to. And then you'll just see them in their rate parity, rate shopping. And that's what we want to democratize. We want you to have an access to the endpoint. And second, control. There should be control in whichever distribution. There should be there should be an option wherein you can turn off the faucet when you have to check things if rates are flowing properly or not. So transparency and control and marketplace, these are the things that very important for the next, I think, 10 years for distribution.
So, thank you very much for that. But let me link it together. So, marketplace is so big, right? So, without proper contents and addressing what people are looking at, regardless if there's commission or not, you can't be found, right? So, you have to have proper contents to make sure that you are visible. Because if nobody searches the contents that you place in the system, then nothing's going to happen anyway, right? Okay, thank you for that. Let's go now. Okay, we have a couple of group questions. Please do type in your questions so that in a while we are going to address some of your questions as well. To the group, how do you balance the need for a strong presence on OTAs with driving direct bookings through your own digital channels? And you're the queen of this, so please.
Thanks, Chris. As you know, I'm a direct booking advocate. For Discovery Hospitality, our average share of revenue, talking about direct versus OTAs, over 70%.
Over 70% direct, so it can happen.
Yes, it can happen. Actually, there's been a renewed interest in driving direct booking since, the pandemic. Actually, in the States, they were talking that there's this chain, a global chain, that experimented with 2 brands going OTA free.
Okay.
But then I don't know what happened. But, well, as for Discovery Hospitality, how we do it, I'd say 2 things. First is acceptance. And then second is understanding. What does that mean? Acceptance. Acceptance that no matter how much we spend, we cannot outspend the OTAs.
No matter, let me just repeat that, no matter
How much we spend,
we
cannot
cannot
outspend the OTAs.
That's correct.
We run our own ad campaigns in-house, and we see from our dashboard that OTAs are actually commanding at least 90% share of impressions. So it's very high cost of, well, advertising for us. But then if you're going to compare it against the commission that, we're paying the OTAs, it's still very little. But then at the end of the day, thing is, when it comes to website traffic, because we spend on ads to generate traffic, right? 98% of website visitors don't convert. So we're losing them. That means we'll have to spend more on remarketing, on retargeting to get them back to the website. And 50 to 65% of OTA bookers actually visited the official websites of the properties.
Okay.
So instead of us losing that booking to another destination or to the competitor, we might as well give the business to the OTAs, right? Or with a good on-page engagement strategy, and of course ad campaigns, relevant contents, we should be able to convert them into direct bookings. Second is understanding of consumer behavior. Like what I said earlier, people don't always convert on the website. But if you look at the stats, 50% of APAC travelers are mostly Gen Zs and millennials. And as we know, Gen Zs, their default platform is the OTA. They will always go to the OTAs.
Okay.
Second, the millennials, they will always compare your rates, website versus the OTA. So either they book direct or book to the OTA. So instead of, complaining, I'm paying a lot of, in terms of commission and all, start working on your direct booking strategy, and at the same time, you have to leverage on the strength of the OTAs, especially in terms of search engine marketing and search engine optimization.
You nailed it because, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I agree with Blessy. We're also doing that. We're leveraging our partnerships with OTA, but at the same time, we do not stop with that. We actually, for Hotel 101, we launched our Hotel 101 app last year. And since we launched, we've increased our bookings on the app by 1,000% actually.
1,000%.
And we're doing efforts in converting in-house guests into our app.
Very good.
For future bookings as well.
So what I'm hearing here is, just like we've been mentioning the entire day, there should be a solid strategy, right? Because if it is just like, I hate OTAs, I want direct business, it's not going to fall from the skies, right? There should be a solid strategy, and you have to put there, your expected results so that you can measure things properly, and therefore you understand that you're actually successful. Otherwise, you get frustrated and you just leave it like that, right? So there. Thank you very much. Now, I have another two questions, separate questions here for Jerome and Loleth. What role do you see emerging technologies like AI and IoT playing in hotel marketing and online visibility in the near future? All this new AI and Internet of Things. Please, Jerome.
Okay, how cliche, because it's going to be hyper-personalization. Not promoting the company, but now, if you've noticed, the rooms are becoming smarter, and those are entry points for data. Let's say, for example, when they check in, when your guest checks in, it will create, a ticket wherein, okay, this guest likes a temperature to this level. And as we collect data, it's going to be more personalized the next time they checked in, which is the term hyper-personalization. So this basically means the marketing messaging will be so beyond customization. The marketers will now be able to tailor a campaign even to the level of room temperature. Even to the level of room types, for example, because it's going to be hyper-personalized. So this is the main role of IT in the future when it comes to marketing. We're going to be more on understanding, let's say this guest will be high likely booking a deluxe room and will be eating paella at the restaurant. That's how intelligent the marketing will be in the coming years. However, I'd like what Blessy mentioned when it comes to authenticity. If you've noticed, last HSMA event at the Makati Diamond, 2022, second quarter, we were just talking about what ChatGPT is. But now, look at, everybody uses ChatGPT. But in terms of marketing perspective, the next thing is we will be able to now identify if something is written by AI or not. Like I remember I was talking to some of my friends. They have this word that when they see it in the content, they know it's AI written. Like for example, delve.
Delve.
Navigating, those things. It could be true. So now we're benefiting for the efficiency that it's bringing to our content creation. However, it's just a matter of years that people will be able to understand and pinpoint if something is written by AI, thus the importance of authenticity.
Authenticity, yes. Agree. Loleth, what can you say about this? AI, IoT, ABCDEFG.
For me, I think what's really important amidst all this technology is reputation management. Okay, why? Because no matter how much you play in the market, no matter how dynamic you are, if your reputation management is suffering, then it will all go back. It will all go to waste. Reputation management is basically, sometimes it's a very expensive system.
Yes.
No? Like for example, Revenate, no? It can be very expensive, but it's really worth the investment.
Yes.
Because you're really able to get feedback.
Yes.
And these are feedback that your operations team can use to better your
Yes.
operations, to better your internal process, and also to better how you communicate with the market out there in terms of the feedback. So, well, I can only say, in my past life and even now where we are, which is Megaworld, we focus a lot on reputation management because this is the only way that you can benchmark how you will be able to move forward in the market in terms of operational standards, guest services standards, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, so listening basically, right? Blessy, you wanted to add something
Yeah, I'd
there?
like to talk about Metaverse because Discovery Hospitality launched the Metaverse project year 2022. We launched Bogart and Friends. It's something that we want to replicate for all the Discovery Resorts property. And with the Metaverse, it was, a fun game for the Gen Alpha, which is they say are the most influential now when it comes to family travel in terms of making booking decisions, recommendations, picking hotels, and activities. So with Metaverse, the Gen Alpha are able to interact with the digital version of the staff, with the virtual version of the property. So we look at it like that okay, for now you're able to earn points, you redeem rewards, but looking at it in the long run, the Gen Alpha are seen to consume or interact with Metaverse for at least 5 to 6 hours per day.
5 to 6 hours per day.
So basically, the Roblox Metaverse game that we created, Bogart and Friends, we're seeing it as a loyalty program for the next generation of Discovery guests.
Great. Now, thank you very much, guys. Now, let's answer some of the questions here. Are printed, I would like to give this to Loleth and Brian. Are printed materials still a thing? Example, brochure. Brian and then Loleth.
For Hotel 101 Group, we ventured into making digital brochures.
Okay.
But we find our market, the mid-scale market, to still want the printed ones.
Okay.
So we have both available for them.
So I guess what you're trying to say is based on the data that you have for your hotel, which calls for more digital rather than the printed one. Is that correct?
Since we started sustainability,
Very good.
We made digital available, but our market still wanted print materials. So we make both available to them.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you. Loleth?
Sa akin mo talaga tinanong, no? Okay. Printing materials.
Printed daw.
Okay, it's still valid.
Okay.
As long as it's not overused. And like, for example, I'll give an example. For sales collaterals, I always believe it should be soft copy already because it's easier to send out. It's more sustainable as well. But in terms of operational hotel, inside the hotel, There are certain materials that I think should still be printed, but there are also materials that can use the QR code. I think the beauty of the pandemic really brought the Philippines, no, or the industry in total,
Okay.
into a different level to become more sustainable. You know, it opened our eyes that, you know, we can work with digital
Yes.
and so-called QR codes, no? And this is good, but we always have to think that there is still a market out there who will still prefer to hold collaterals,
Yes.
no? And let's not forget about them because they're still alive, okay? They're still there.
I'm
And-
still alive.
Yeah, I'm still alive too, right? So, in other words, there's still a market out there. So,
Yeah.
really the question is, how are you going to be able to mix it together so that you don't forget? You don't forget one over the other. It's good to be modern, but not too modern
Yeah.
that you forget the traditional.
So,
That's what I think.
especially if that market is the one paying 20%, of your revenue, basically, sending
Agree.
you.
Oo. You know, just a side kwento, no? I used to work in a luxury hotel, okay, wherein a lot of our clients were more of the senior. And no matter how much we wanted to go digital, it was very difficult because they would always look for the old-fashioned hard copy menu.
Yes, yes.
And we wanted to teach them, but old habits die hard, no?
Yes.
So you really have to make sure that you know that market,
Yes.
so that when they approach you, you know what to give them. Is it the QR or is it the traditional?
Correct.
That's where you're saying,
Yes.
Chris, kanina, diba? You really need to know the market that you're going after.
Yes, and you don't want them to teach you a lesson by not booking with you anymore just because you didn't print some stuff. Yeah, got it. Thank you. Now for Jerome, there's a question here. For B2B, how do you bring maximum impact? Okay, matanda na lola nyo, wait. Maximum impact with minimal budget.
Okay, so for B2B, in terms of getting a maximum impact, number one, you need to really profile which B2B are delivering you the business that's, relevant to your strategy. Each B2B, they have different niche, they have different markets, they have different strategies. And the first thing you need to understand is how they sell. Because recently, most of the dealings have been very transactional. It's all about the rates. They're asking for the rates, and then they load it, and then the business will increase. But next thing that you might want to do is to really understand how they distribute your rates, and at the same time, if they're really having like a program on promoting your properties, always bear in mind, there's only 6 to 8 properties that could be fitted in the screen, even lesser in the phone. So the first question is how to be part of those.
Yes.
Imagine how many hotels we have in the Philippines, over 10,000. For one city in Manila, I came from an OTA, we have 700 hotels. And in the screen, if you're using a big phone, 6 to 8 properties. What if you're using the fold phones now? Even more difficult, right? So it's really about understanding how they promote you. And for B2B, they have more power in terms of pushing to their agents,
Yes.
which is technically still one of their main USPs
Correct.
in terms of promoting the properties.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. Now, I would like to answer this question. Where was that question? When luxury, something about the luxury, Leslie? There you go. For a luxury boutique property, is TikTok a channel worth exploring? So, let me answer this correctly. Actually, it is not a matter of if your hotel is a luxury hotel or a 2-star hotel. It is based on the data that you would gather where your audience is looking. So regardless if your property is a luxury hotel or a 2-star hotel or a non-star hotel, you need to check the data where your clients would like to talk to you. Okay? And how do you do that when you don't have TikTok yet? Observe your comm set, for example. Are they engaging there? Right? So it's not about the age. It's not about, di ba meron nga dyan, super retired lola na 90 years old, very good in TikTok, 100,000 followers. My only point, it is the name TikTok is not equal to teenagers. It can be for anybody who wants to engage with that. So again, going back to that, check your data, and if your data says that you need to engage, my recommendation is to engage. Okay? Now, when do you consider TikTok when tapping the younger market? Let's give this to the floor here. Let's start with Madam Blessy.
Across APAC and also in the States, they say that TikTok is not really for conversion. But then, even the luxury brands are on TikTok because they understand the importance of being visible in the upper and middle sales
Correct.
funnel. And thing is, when we look at user demographics and also consumer behavior, we look at the customer journey and the profile, the persona of the guest. They are probably not necessarily the ones that you are targeting on TikTok. Maybe you're talking to the Gen Alpha, the Gen Zs, who are not booking but are influencing the booking decision.
Very good point. Thank you. How about you, Brian? What can you say about this?
For me, it's a sin not to go in there and try it for one. You never know that it will be for you unless you try it for yourself.
Agree.
But at on the other side, you still want to be on brand and consider what message you want to put out.
Got it. So with regards to this, probably another thing is that, yes, before engaging, probably as a corporation, like a corporate office, they have to revisit their strategy with regards to social media. Because indeed, there are certain probably brands who are still not allowing their hotels to engage in certain social media, not necessarily TikTok. Yes, that's correct. Thank you very much for that, Brian. Yes, Loleth.
Okay. I don't agree that TikTok is only for the younger.
Ayan
I have
na.
a TikTok account, okay? So I don't think it's only for younger. I think what's important is when you start engaging into TikTok, you have to make sure, tama, no? You need to make sure who your market is.
Yes.
But if you are a hotel brand who has not gotten into TikTok yet, and you think it's not the avenue for you to promote, think twice. You have to think twice. Why? Because the content that's being pushed out in TikTok, as what Blessy said kanina, no? It's, again, very engaging. So the more engagements you have, obviously, the more interest you have for your brand and for your hotel. So TikTok is just a more dynamic version of videos,
Yes.
diba? That
Yes.
we put before in Facebook. And it's more dynamic now, and it's fun. So there's really nothing wrong, I think, with having TikTok. But I guess really for brands, there are a lot of brands who are now putting more brand guidelines, so to speak, with their TikTok. Why? Because it can get a little also overboard, diba? Because TikTok is so dynamic. So I think what's really important is you really need to put guidelines on that platform, but don't eradicate it totally.
Yes.
I think that will be a total mistake.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Jerome?
I think TikTok is becoming bigger, therefore it's working. So I think it's very simple. Why are we not exploring something that might be working? You know, and some of the properties who are not present in TikTok, you can consider this as part of your blue ocean. You know, wherein, you want to test the water first. Because one thing I'm personally, I'm also curious about TikTok is they've technically debunked all the marketing principles that we've been taught for the past years.
Proper production.
Proper production. You have to plan everything. You have to create a persona. You have to really plan to the moment of truth. But TikTok, someone will just dance and people are buying. No logic. Right? There's no planning. You just have to look good. You just have to make sure that you engage to your audience properly and people buy. It's a different animal that if you are able to tame, I think you're going to get a lot of money from it. And the thing is, you can be cautious as of the moment, but what I observe the minute you feel that you need to be in TikTok, most of the time it's already too late.
Okay.
That means you felt the need. When you felt the need, that means you've lost customers already.
Somebody else did it before you, right?
That means you've lost a lot of money already. So it is a part of those innovation moment when you innovate, when you don't feel like innovating, because most of the time, when you finally find the moment to innovate, it's already too late.
Okay, very good. So again, for this one, define your strategy, I think is the first step, right? And align your strategy with your corporate office, and if necessary, to revamp whatever policies they have, if necessary. Okay? Now, I have another question here. What are the parameters in deciding to venture into new social platforms? Let's start this time with Brian.
I think same with TikTok or any other platform for that matter. You really need to have a strategy, as you said. Align your communications.
Yes.
Is it the right avenue where your market is? I think that's very important before going into that platform.
Agree.
You need to learn most about the platform, how to use it, how to maximize it. Yeah.
Agree. Because you don't want to be out of tune anyway, right? That today you're doing this, tomorrow you're doing that, and then it has to be a proper talagang sequence, for example, right? Thanks, Brian. How about Blessy? When? Oh, what are the parameters, it says?
Yeah, I'd say, again, first look at your target audience. You have to be present where your target audience is. And you have to understand where that platform is in the customer journey, the role that it plays in the customer journey. Especially since the pandemic, it's no longer just social media marketing, supporting your IBE or your website. Social media has developed or created its own ecosystem wherein the entire sales funnel has been created within social media itself. So the inspiration, research, planning, and booking all happen within social media. So you just have to find which social media platform is that depending on who your target audience is.
Okay, thank you very much. Now here, in reverse, in your experience or what you've observed, it doesn't mean that it happened in your hotel. Again, it doesn't mean that this happens in your hotel. What's the biggest mistake hotels make when trying to improve their online visibility? Jerome.
Hello. Okay. I think this is a rather controversial question.
Mic volume, please.
Hello. Okay, there you go. So I want to be heard clearly, so to lessen misstatement. Okay, so I think this is a rather controversial question, and I think the biggest mistake is the concept of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
What's that again? Can you
If it
repeat?
ain't broke, don't fix it.
So if it
You know,
ain't broke,
we always have the mindset we're in. Okay, if something is working, let it be. Okay, I'm not saying that mindset is completely wrong. But the challenge with that mindset is that you are assuming things won't break. And that's a very risky mindset to have, especially in an industry as volatile as travel and tourism, when your customers are changing behavior from time to time. So going back to my point earlier, when it comes to trying, exploring new things, when there's no need to try to venture a new social platform, that's the best time to try and
Okay.
learn from it. Fail fast, learn fast, and it's always better. They have a saying that a good plan is better
then no plan.
than a good plan is better
Then leche flan.
leche flan. Yeah. No, the perfect plan is less desirable,
Okay.
and good plan violently executed today is a lot better. To
Okay.
that tone. No? So my point is, it's always better to try new things.
Okay.
No, rather than, being stuck in the mindset that's, because it's working, we just keep doing it and, expect the same return every day.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Loleth.
Yeah. I think in my lifetime, no, I've seen a lot of mistakes. All right. And most of the time, the mistake of a lot of hotel teams is when they don't think big and they don't look at the long term.
Yes.
Short-term thinking is good, but it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest mistake that hotel teams or marketing teams, for that matter, usually is they don't really look at the big picture, wherein they don't plan. I love this, no? There's such a thing called the business plan and the marketing plan. And some hotel teams don't take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
They just do it for the sake of passing to the GM. But they don't really think about it. They don't look at their calendar. They don't look at seasonality, etc., etc. I, for one, take business plans so seriously that I always make it a point to gather the team, because I think this is one point in time where you will need a lot of brains to put together a business plan. It cannot only be one person doing it, because it becomes dictatorial.
Yeah.
Okay, authoritarian.
Yeah.
Then it's not a business plan, right? But when you put it together as a team, you're already creating a long-term plan for the team. It doesn't mean to say that the long-term plan will really happen word for word.
Yes.
Because the market, can change, right? From the time that you do the business plan all the way until next year.
Yes.
But if you're able to have that kind of foundation and framework of what you're going to do for next year, where you want to be, what results you want to get, then it's easier for everyone to be in one direction.
Yes.
So in terms of the mistake of a lot of sales or sales and marketing teams is when we don't think big picture. It's always easier to think big to small rather than small to big.
Okay, thank you, Loleth. Now, Brian, last mistakes that you see.
Probably what I said earlier, that not doing anything at all, probably.
Yes, yes.
It's better to go in there and try it than not to do it at all.
Okay, very good. And Miss Blessy?
For me, it's how hoteliers in general would look at conversion as the measure of conversion or success. Whenever we do our marketing campaign, people always see it as expense. But for us, it's okay to pay, 15, 25% commission to the OTAs. We should, embrace direct booking, because in the long run, it increases our revenue production, the profitability, and it lessens our dependency on the OTAs. And it takes a visionary leader who's going to invest in building your direct booking team, running your own campaigns to be able to achieve that.
Thank you. For me, the biggest mistake of practitioners in general, not necessarily hotels only, is that they do things for themselves. They forget that they're doing this for the clients. We just had lunch in Cebu over the weekend with a chef. Actually, he's a classmate of mine in AIM. His name is Patrick Corpus. He said, he's a chef. He said, actually, the mistakes of a lot of chefs is they cook for their ego and not for the clients. Likewise, a lot of us practitioners do things, create things, fantastic things, but we forget to listen and to analyze data and forget that it's for them, not for us. And with that, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, panel.